Hello, crafters, and welcome to the P2P Winter Online Craft Show, brought to you by From Picture to Page Papercraft Shows, where we nurture your creativity with online and in person shows. I'm your host for this session, Wendy Stewart, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to present this session for you. The Winter Online Show includes lots of demonstrations by our talented retailers. For all of the details of this show, the upcoming sessions, sneak peeks of demonstrations, please head over to our website, which is from picture to page and beyond.com.au. While you're on the website, please make sure you have signed up for our newsletter. You really want to be on the mailing list so that you are the first to find out about all the upcoming events that we have for you. Also, our online email community gets lots of special offers and special things happen through the online community via our newsletter. So we really want you to be signed up so that you don't miss out on anything that's happening. Now, whether you're watching us live or on a replay later, please pop in the comments and say hello, like Jackie and Carol and Jacqueline and Diana. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. Oh, and Florina and Alana. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our community is very important to us, and we love being able to present these sessions for you. I am so happy that I get to be on this side of the camera again and to introduce to you our wonderful person who is in charge of all of this and makes it all happen and brings it all alive. Lovely to have her on the other side of the camera today. So please welcome to the show our beloved Michelle. Hello, Michelle from Mixed Media Art.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Wendy. It's so lovely to be joining you again today.
It's lovely to have you on the other side again so that we can pick your brains and see what you have for us today.
Oh, and it's so nice to be able to get crafty. That's one of the most frustrating things about running the craft show and a retail store is that sometimes I don't get a chance to get inky, sticky, and crafty. So it's really nice to be able to do that today.
That is wonderful. And Michelle, I know you have lots of goodies behind you, but that everyone can drool over. But what have you got for us today, and what are you going to be sharing with us today, please?
So today we're going to be drawing on inspiration with the Art by Marlene range. So Marlene's a Netherlands-based artist. She
Yes.
works a lot with Studio Light, and she's got an amazing collection of craft supplies. So there's paints, there's glues, there's collage papers, there's stamps, there's sticky quotes, there's die cuts, just everything you need to get started in crafting. And what I wanted to do was take a whole heap of mixed media techniques and bring them into a small project, into a card. So this is the make and take that we ran at the Pakenham and the Geelong shows this year. So for those that had a play with me, I'd love for you to try it again. Or those of you that haven't, just perhaps step a little bit outside your comfort zone, because it is a way of learning a few of those techniques and then, of course, applying them to your scrapbooking, card making, or art journaling, because that's what we love about paper crafts. The skills are all transferable.
Absolutely. And, Art by Marlene, it's bright, it's funky, it's happening. I love it. It speaks to my soul. I'm all about that. I love it. But for some people, it could be a stretch from what they normally do. So this is a great way
Yeah.
to learn, to start. And, you can start slowly. There's so many amazing products Marlene has, and, at a great price point as well, so that you can go and buy maybe, one sticker book or one pack of die cuts. You can start and you can build up your collection slowly as you get more confident. And Michelle is a fantastic enabler when it comes to all things Art by Marlene. Wonderful.
Most definitely. And you do get so much use out of it. Like these little books of quotes, we've been using them, like I said, for 2 full shows with Make and Take. So we run, I don't know, it feels like hundreds of sessions, definitely nearly hundreds of people through it. And there's still quotes there that you can pull out of and use. Of course, the stamps are always there
Oh,
to
yes.
reuse. The do-it-yourself journaling and banner kit that we're going to be using today
Yes.
is just so versatile as well. And like I said, it's lovely to kind of have permission to use the bright colours. For those
Yes.
of us that have been doing a while, most of us went through that grungy, vintage, Tim Holtz kind of phase, which we loved. It's
Yes.
kind of not permission to use those bright colours again as well.
Wonderful. Well, Michelle, I'm going to give you a moment to swap your camera over and we can get started. So I can't wait to see what Michelle has for us. I had a sneak peek as I walked into my spot in the studio, and it's just so bright and colorful, ready to play. And as we hope that you will all find a little bit of crafty time this weekend. Give yourself permission to play. I mean, I used to set a timer for 20 minutes and just do something, or 30 minutes, just do something with a cuppa and have some creative playtime, which is all good. So Michelle's ready for us. So take it away, Michelle, all yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wendy. And hello, everyone. And yes, it is so lovely to be on this side of things again. So today we're going to use some inspiration from Marlene to create this really cute mixed media card. So like we said, there's so many different things in the collection, but what I love are these gorgeous bright collage papers, and we're going to use these as our colour palette inspiration. You know, sometimes I think it can get overwhelming because there's so many paints in the Art by Marlene collection. There's now 36 different paints, and they come in sets of 6, and then you can buy them individually as well. And so sometimes it's hard to know where to start, and sometimes we sort of get sick of our own color palette.
Yes.
So by using some printed papers, it allows us to point us in the direction a little bit and perhaps use colors that we wouldn't normally use. So we've got some brights, we've got some more muted colors, and I think I'm going to choose this one today. So let's get started.
Just loving all the array of colours in front of you, Michelle. Wow.
So what I've done is chosen 5 paints that match the colour palette in our piece of paper. So I've got the Ballet, the Royal Purple, which is one that just came out in the most recent release, the Mermaid, the Kermit, which is a nice light green, and then the Happy as well, because I thought, I think we all need a little bit of happy, and aren't we so thankful that the sun is out here today in Melbourne?
Absolutely, definitely.
So I've got a small piece of watercolour paper here, and I'm going to use this, what we call the credit card technique. So painting by using a credit card to spread it. And it's a lovely technique. It doesn't use a lot of paint. And by using this technique, it gives us a very different touch to what some of the other, using a paintbrush might do.
Yes.
Now, the gorgeous thing about these paints, and they've been designed, is so you can see that they've got a cap on them. And they've actually got this little nib. So it's a really easy way to get the paint coming out. And Marlene tells me that she designed them so that anyone with sort of arthritis or wrist challenges, it's really easy to get the paint out. And I'm just realizing that I didn't check that they all work. So let's hope that we're all good, or we might have to dive out and find a pen. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put a small line here of the Ballet paint.
Yes.
Put the cap back on. Now I'm going to hold my credit card or store-bought card this way because you can see it's just got that little bit of flexibility in it. You could use a palette knife as well. Hold it at the top and then just pull it down. And you can see how that's just given really easy shape. You can see the texture in the watercolour paper.
Yes.
A little bit of paint there, so we want to make sure we've got somewhere else to put it. Because, of course, we don't like wasting paint.
We cannot waste paint, ever.
No, and so sometimes you get these really cool little effects as well.
Yes.
As the paint runs out. And because we're doing it so thin, the paints aren't going to mix and they're not going to dry. So what we want to do is take our second colour. So this is the gorgeous Royal Purple. And then what we want to do is just overlap it a little bit and then put another bit down. And it doesn't need to be much paint. It's always easier to add than to subtract.
Definitely less is more.
So again, there we go. And then wiping that off there. So next we've got the Mermaid, which is a gorgeous light blue. And this is such an easy way to get some paint down. You can see I'm not dirtying brushes. I'm not having to add it to a palette. Just keeping it nice and simple. There we go. Then we'll go this Kermit. And you can see by overlapping them, it gives it a bit of an interesting transition. Putting down some Kermit. And we're going to die cut this out later as well. So that's what I'm not worried about, going to the edges. I know that I'll be able to work my way around that. So you can see what a bright colour that is.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. And then finally, we'll go to our happy place. Some yellow. I don't traditionally use a lot of yellow, but it is nice to have a bright colour or two at our fingertips.
I think coming out of our Melbourne winter, we're definitely all about the brights.
Oh, definitely. And then finishing it off with that as well. So I'm wondering, looking at this, whether I need a little bit of orange. There's also a great range of fluoro colours in the range. So sometimes, just adding a little bit. I said no hard and fast rules, and I don't want too much, just enough to add a bit of interest in it. There we go, just to add a little bit of interest. So there we go. We've used that watercolour paper,
yes,
with the paints. and then just that credit card to pull it down. You can see it's a really thin layer. It's almost dry already. But we will set that aside to dry now before we move on to our next step.
Okay.
So we'll let that dry. So what I'm going to do next is take my beautiful paper and stamp some images onto it. So stamping on these collage papers, I think I mentioned in the last session, is one of my favourite things to do. So I've got these gorgeous stamp sets here. These are the acrylic ones, the clear ones. There's also a range of rubber foam mounted stamps. And what I've done with these is I've put them into a little bit of a pocket. So this was Marlene's idea. I've taken that backing paper and I've put some double-sided tape on it in place, that backing sheet.
Yes.
And then I've used some packing tape to create a bit of a hinge. And then I can just have them there ready to go so that they're always held in place instead of at the shows trying to put them back together. So what I'm going to do is use my very favourite archival ink. Now, as we always say in art journaling and mixed media, there's no rules, only guidelines. However, one of my very strong guidelines is that once we use ink, we want to make sure that it's waterproof. So if we add layers on the top or we spontaneously decide we want to use some water-soluble mediums like a scribble stick, some watercolours or more acrylic paint, then we know it's not going to move, it's not going to run. So it's always good to make sure we've got some waterproof ink ready to go.
Sure.
So I'm going to choose this cute little one here. Now, we just saw Jen talking about fussy cutting from Hillbillies. That's great. I'm not a huge fan of fussy cutting, hence why I do mixed media and not patchwork or anything else. So I'm going to give that a good stamp up. And then I'm going to look at some of the colours I've got here on my piece and then making sure I get 3 images in this case. There we go. And we can see that I've got some yellow, a little bit of the purple. Oh, I think I better make sure I re-ink these ink pads before we head off to Paperific in a couple of weeks.
You might
need lots of ink for that make and take. Okay. And then one more. And look, it doesn't quite fit on, but that's okay because we're going to collage them with interest as well. Okay, so there we go. So that can go back into that little set there. I normally would give them a bit of a wipe with a baby wipe, but again, when you're using them for workshops, it's a little bit hard to do that. So now I'm going to use the scissors that I prepared earlier, and I'm going to do Michelle's version of fussy cutting, which isn't particularly fussy, but just really gently. And this is why I love kind of these scrappy type flowers, that we don't have to do it in detail. Similar to the demonstration we did yesterday, by using a little bit of doodling with a pen, it's really a good way of sort of covering up some of that lack of detail when it comes to fussy cutting. So we're just going to cut these out. This is a really nice thin collage paper. Of course, we would always stick it into an art journal with our very favourite Crafters Workshop matte medium. And matte medium is an adhesive that has a really low water content, which is perfect for thin collage papers or rice papers or tissue paper, because then it will ensure that it doesn't wrinkle. Because if we're really careful and add a small layer top and bottom, it makes sure that it goes down. It's well and truly sealed, which is great for adding layers on over the top as well. And then we can just continue to keep going and build up our layers. Okay, so nearly done.
And like I love your version of fussy cutting, Michelle. It's fantastic.
Some of the, the thing is that you don't have to move the scissors, you move the paper. So, and look at all these lovely leftovers, Wendy.
Brilliant.
The whole project with that.
Yes, Michelle, definitely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so there are our 3 little cutouts. Now we're going to get this page back.
Wonderful. May I just interrupt you for one moment? Sorry.
Yes, of course.
Mel is asking, what's the black mat you put under the paper you stamped on, please?
So what I did was just use a little bit of this high density foam. I find that some of the clear stamps don't always provide the best image. So by having just that little bit of dense foam, it used to come in some of the really old thin rubber stamp sets. Yes. And it's just enough to help give you a good impression to make sure that the centre of those flowers came out. So yeah, if you're having trouble with any of your stamps, firstly make sure your ink pads be re-inked properly, and then something like just a high density foam, so you can sort of see that's quite, it compresses a little bit, but not too much.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to look at the colours. We can see at the moment that it's quite rigid. We
Love
haven't
them.
done much to blend the transitions. So what we can do, instead of trying to transition with our paints, is that we can use stamps to help trick our eye. And what we're going to do is grab a stamp. This is another really good set. Oh, it's all falling apart. I love using these ones. Oops. To stamp on. And what we're going to do, oops, I should have used a bigger block, is stamp where the colours transition to help sort of create a more cohesive background.
Yes.
So we want to stamp it, and then where the colours change, we want to stamp. And then because this has got an image on it, you want to make sure we don't sort of do it just straight down the page, or it's going to look a bit too symmetrical and ordered. We don't want that much. We want it a little bit interesting and random. And of course, we don't have to re-ink it every time. We can always do a ghost stamp as well. And you can see how that's starting to bring the composition together.
Yes.
See how now when we look at it, our eyes kind of go, oh, one colour, oh, something interesting, another colour. And it's not, we've created the composition without having to blend the paint. So it's a bit of one of those little tricks for the eye,
Yes.
but it's
Yes.
a really simple technique. So you can see how that starts bringing it together. Okay, so we've got our background done. We've got our flowers ready to go. What we're going to do now is use this really fun. Can you see that okay?
Yes,
so this
we
is
can. Thank you.
the Art by Marlene's Essential Do-It-Yourself Journal and Kit. It comes with 3 large dies, 3 small dies, little rings for those of you that remember, you know, the olden days. It's got little
jump
hole
rings.
reinforcements.
Yes.
Yeah, and the little rings, and these come in colour as well, which is so cute. So you can use it to make journals, to make banners. There's just so many ways you can use it. What I like to do, it also comes with some card as well and a bit of ribbon. So I like using one of these 2 larger ones for cutting out our piece. And because we haven't had to worry too much about it, you know, we can now figure out exactly which bits we want. So I've got my little cuddle bug here, my trusty little cuddle bug. I've got my well-used plates, and I'm going to sit down. Now I'm going to decide where I want it. So like I said, it doesn't matter that I don't have paint off there. I'm going to put it about there, and then I'm going to use some low tack tape to help hold it in place, and that just helps make it a little bit easier, especially while we're juggling things in a small amount of space. There we go. And so we've got, for this one, because it's quite a thin die, we've got the base, the plate, the card. And because I've used these before, I've added just an extra piece of paper in there just to build up thickness. It's all about adjusting the sandwich thickness for the pressure through the cutter.
For sure.
So we're going to pop it in there, run it through. It makes a few cracking noises, but that's okay. Nothing's getting damaged.
That's all right. You're not going to break it. It's well loved.
No. I mean, you can break your plates eventually, but if you're really careful with them, they last forever and forever. Very carefully pull our tape off so we don't ruin our page. Yes. And then the fun part,
the great
there
reveal.
we go.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
And it's got such a cute little deckled edge on it.
It sure does.
So, okay, what am I doing next? Oh, I know. So I grabbed my base cards. I've got a piece of black A5 card here, folding it in half just for a standard A6 size card.
Yes.
Make sure I've got the opening on the side. Now, what I'm going to do, because this is watercolour paper. Oh, no, what I'm going to do first, is I'm going to stick these on. That's right.
Okay.
So for this example, I'm just going to use just a innocent little glue stick. Yeah. And when I put my collage elements on, I've got 3, so it's odd numbers. That's always a good start in composition. And the other thing, I don't want to put them too close together. I want to sort of space them out a little bit and add a bit of interest.
Okay.
And so rather than putting sort of pink with pink, I'm going to put the pink up in the green, the yellow more down in the purple. Yes. Yeah, maybe I've got cute little dots there, so maybe turn that around a little bit. The great thing when you have those collage elements is you can audition them. You can take photos, you say, what do I think of that? Do I want that a bit higher, in a bit, out a bit? So there we go. I think that can work. Grab some scrap paper so I don't get too much glue all over me. So like I said, we're just going to use a humble glue stick for this one. You can always use more of a gel medium, double-sided tape, whatever you prefer. But as you can see, it's quite thin collage paper.
Yes.
So you wouldn't want to use a PVA glue or anything like that. So we pop that one down there, pop it down here. Oh, this one's got some purple flowers on. Maybe we'll use it more like
Yep,
that.
perfect.
There we go. And then you can either trim the edges or you could run it through the die cutter again. Or if you're particularly lazy, you could just fold them over.
You can fold them over, yes.
Yeah, and look, this does have a deckled edge, so maybe if you wanted that consistent look, you could run it back through the die cutter, or you could
Absolutely.
stick them on and then die cut it. But I find then it makes it a little bit harder to get your composition right because you're not seeing the whole picture
Sure.
until you've got it cut to size. So there we go. Okay. Even from a glue stick, I've managed to get glue everywhere.
Of course you have.
Of course I have. Okay. So I'm not quite happy with that. I'm going to trim it just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to get our base card. Because this is quite thick watercolour paper, I'm going to use double-sided tape rather than a glue. Again, if I was doing art journal, I'd do a matte medium, but because this is a card, all it needs is to hang on, and there's not going to be many more layers to it.
No.
Now, I'm sure, I don't need to tell you crafters how to use double-sided tape. I love the one that just rips, so you don't need to be too precious about it.
Yes.
And then remember to sort of burnish it down before you try and get the back off, particularly because this watercolour paper is quite fibrous.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a little bit hard to get it, not hard to get it stick, but, it just can be harder to get the backing off when it's not sticking properly. So by making sure it's down firmly before you try and pull the backing off, it's always a good way to go. So we line that up. Now this die is a little bit not really square, so it's going to look a little bit, my mechanical engineering coming out. Just trying to get it square. Okay, and then we want to add a sentiment because nothing's ever complete without a sentiment. So we've got a whole heap of different ones in the art by Marlene. We've got her bold and brights, we've got the sticky quotes. I think this one's actually no longer made, the Artsy Arabia one. And this one's got some coloured sheets as well as black on white and white on black. And then this one's got the same thing, the set of whites and blacks, and then the same in the reverse. So it just gives you a really great, way of adding detail.
Definitely.
Without trying to get too stuck in your head. So all sorts of interesting quotes. I've had to flick through some of them. Focus on the walk, not the talk. You can't make everyone happy. You're not tequila. The real artist is a beginner that kept beginning. Nice. Think outside the box.
Yeah.
So the one that I like that I've picked today was that life is short, so make every hair flip count.
Oh, I love that, Michelle.
So these are self-adhesive. They're ready to go. But see, it's quite long and my card's not as wide as that.
For sure.
But also, if I just stuck that on, it'd look a bit boring. So what I want to do, and just encourage you as well, as I'm sure Marlene would if she was here, was to just cut it up. Don't use it in one piece.
Absolutely.
Use it in a couple of small pieces. Now, we've got some lines in the background, so perhaps let's use that as a bit of a guide for where we put it.
Great
So
point.
life is short, make every, cut it there, and then we're, again, using those odd numbers, rules of three, make every hair flip count. So again, you don't want to put it in too much of a strange order so your eyes have trouble following it, but something like that, sort of from top left down to bottom right, isn't too bad. How are we going for time? So now I'm going to grab my favourite food ball pen, and of course we'll do a little squiggle to make sure it's still working. And what we want to do is just doodle and again make it our own. So the first thing we want to do, these are self-adhesive, so we don't have to wait for it to dry. Please, again, no rules in mixed media, only guidelines, but please wait for your backgrounds to be dry before you use your pens because you will just ruin your markers. Now ask me how I know. I've got so many markers that I've managed to ruin because I just am too impatient. So what we want to do is just a little bit of doodling around the words.
I love this doing this because it just adds a little bit of definition. It
exactly, and we've got circles, so we can make it our own by adding a few more circles. We can, if using gold or white, we could add a few little highlights. We can come back and sort of go over anywhere that's not stamped as dark as we like. As we did yesterday, we could do some of our crazy writing around it and help embed those images a little bit. Add borders, add points of interest. Like I said, it's hard to know when to stop sometimes. We could just decorate on forever and forever.
I think you and I could work on this card for the rest of the day and still not be done.
We probably could, but at some point we're going to
Yeah.
have to call it quits. So there we go. A quite simple but really effective mixed media card. So
Beautiful,
we've
Michelle.
used the credit card painting technique and the Art by Marlene paints to create that rainbow background. Once it was dry, we then stamped our border, which helps with the composition because it lets our eyes glance over the transitions and it doesn't feel as heavy. We've used our gorgeous background papers and our stamps to create some interesting embellishments. We've then used three in 3 different points and had them coming over the edge, so it gives us that little bit of interest. And we've then used some pre-printed adhesive quotes to stick on, and finally our food ball pen to add a few little highlights.
Okay, Christine, the name of the pen is a food ball pen, and the name of the paints Michelle is using are the Art by Marlene paints. And they're
Yes.
all
So if
on Michelle's
I've got a couple
website.
of minutes. So there's 36 paints in the range. So I'm going to be able to do this without blinding everyone. So here's all the paints swatched. So for those of you that come to my classes, I'll always encourage you to swatch your paints because then you understand how they work. Can you see all of those? So these are the 6 sets, and you can see all of those colours there. So we've got some beautiful colours. We've got a neon set, a beautiful romantic muted set, and then this is the one that came out just before the last show, was the gorgeous cheesy kissy. There's the royal there, the sky forest, and the police.
Gorgeous.
Excellent. And
Thank you.
before we go, I just wanted to mention our specials again.
Yes,
So
please.
we've talked about our studio in Mount Waverley, and our store is having 2 specials until the 17th of August. So 10% off all the Dina Wakley Dilutions and Dilution Shimmer paints. So not the Art by Marlene paints, but all the rest of our paint collection has 10% off. The discount will show up in your shopping cart. And because yesterday we did a lovely gel printing demonstration, I'd love to encourage you to look at all of our gel plates and brayers, and that's 10% off until the 17th of August as well.
Wonderful. They're great specials. So I encourage everyone to head over to the website and have a look. Michelle, I'm going to get you to swap your camera over so we can come back and chat and say goodbye to you.
Excellent.
Wasn't that fantastic? I mean, I personally love Art by Marlene. I'm all about the bright colors. Yes, I love my muted soft tones too, but Art by Marlene is bright, it's funky, it's so versatile. You can use it in so many different projects. Michelle's got a whole heap in the shop, so please make sure you go and check them out. And, yes, I'm enabling purchases, but hey, I'm allowed. So there you go. Now, Michelle's ready, I think, for us. So we will bring her back on. Thank you so much, Michelle. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, Wendy, for having me. And as I said, we've got a small shop here in Mount Waverley and a beautiful classroom space as well. So the shop's open on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And our online shop is open, of course, 24 hours, shipping across Australia. And we've got a whole heap of classes coming up as well. We've got art journaling classes where we do some gel printing in. We've got some special guest artists coming up. So for all of those, head over to our website, mixedmediaart.net, and you can click in the shop now button or click on the classes button, and that will give you all the details of all the events we've got coming up.
Yep. Kathy, I hope that answered your question. It is a bricks and mortar and an online store. So go to the Mixed Media Art website. You can you can shop there. If you want to come into the studio in Mount Waverley, maybe best just to drop Michelle a message via email or text just to let her know that you'd like to come because, life happens, changes happen. So, and you can always, as Michelle said yesterday, you can put an order online and then come and pick it up in Mount Waverley if that works for you too. So,
Yep,
Michelle,
more than happy to do that. And if there's something that you want to sort of see, touch, smell, and probably not taste, because we don't want to
yes.
get too much paint in our system,
Yep.
certainly let me know and we can organise a time to do that as well. And we've got, open days, and we'll be at Paperific and we'll be at
Yes.
Sandown in October. So there'll be lots of opportunities to catch up with us and the Mixed Media Art team.
Wonderful. Michelle, it's been wonderful having you on the other side of the camera again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say bye to you and thank you again for being here with us under your mixed media art.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank
Wendy, and
you.
thank you, crafters. See you soon.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us again for that session. I hope Michelle has inspired you to maybe try something bright and funky and different. Don't forget to head to a website if you want to be purchasing any of that Art by Marlene goodies that she showed us. It's all there waiting for you. Once again, we love having you with us. We thank you, our P2P crafting community. Don't forget to head to the website, join our mailing list so that you know all the information coming up. Now, there's more sessions coming up later today, so I hope you will join us. I have loved bringing you sessions, so this is me saying goodbye for this session. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you find some crafty time over the weekend. Remember to be kind to yourself always. And this is me saying bye for now. Take care.